Welcome to the 1871 podcast, and our special guest, I'm delighted to say, for this episode is former Reading defender Linvoy Primus. And to give you your official title, Linvoy, it's Linvoy Primus MBE. So we're honoured. We're honoured anyway as a football legend, but I don't know, Johnny, if we've ever had an MBE before, have we?
I don't think so.
No.
First, Linvoy, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It's an honour. So Linvoy, thanks ever so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to you to the 1871 podcast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm well. Just it's the end of the season in a different way for me because my work works around the football season. So, but I can't nip off on holiday to Dubai like the boys and stuff like that. I just stay at home and think of them on holiday. So a little bit quiet, but all well, all's good.
Yeah, and it rains sometimes out in Dubai, so you never know.
That's true. Probably that it's like mist that there rain. It's like mist in the air. So, yeah, that's it. That's probably more like it.
Used to live at that, but it's hot and sunny most of the time, to be fair.
Good.
But Linvoy, before we speak to you, just want to let our listeners and our viewers on YouTube know about our guest coming up on the 1871 podcast. So tomorrow we've got former Reading midfielder and model John Halls. So that's tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, thanks to Johnny's sterling efforts, stroke being a stalker, we've got former Reading winger Glenn Little. So we're looking forward to that one. Potentially that could be a long episode because he likes to talk. Yeah, we're looking forward to that one. And we'll also bring you a bonus episode when eventually Reading announce their new manager. We don't know when that's going to be. I think we said on one of the episodes recently, Johnny, that there was some sort of announcement that if you bought a season ticket, you could meet the manager on June the 2nd. But actually, we've reread it. We think what it means is that if you buy your season ticket before June the 2nd, you get to meet the new manager at some point. So It doesn't mean that he's definitely coming in before June the 2nd, because we thought that might have meant that they know who it was already. Anyway, you're probably confused, so I'll move on. Talking of managers, at the time of recording this episode, the new favourite, we seem to have a new favourite every day. So at the time of recording this, the new favourite is former Celtic and Leicester assistant manager Chris Davies. So Chris was Reading's youth team captain. Unfortunately, his playing career came to an end very early. I think it was 19 due to an injury. So he's a former Reading first team coach, and he worked with Brendan Rodgers. He was Brendan Rodgers' assistant at Leicester. So he's apparently the new favourite. Whether we take any notice of that or not is a different story, but that's the inverted commas the news today. And a bit of news about the 1871 podcast. We're now up to 58th place on the Apple Football podcast chart. So I don't know what's going on. We haven't got a marketing budget to invest in social media, but I'll tell you what we do have. We have some brilliant guests, and we've got one today, Linvoy Primus. So before we speak to Linvoy, just a word about Dylan. He might be joining us. We don't know. He might be joining us midway through this episode. We never know for sure what's going on with Dylan, but if not, hopefully he's joining us for tomorrow's episode. So an update on him and Mirumo Gallants in South Africa. So they had their CAF Confederation Cup semi-final on Wednesday, the second leg of that. So that's kind of the equivalent of Africa's Europa League, that type of competition. And they had their second leg. They were losing from the first leg. Unfortunately, they lost the second leg on Wednesday as well. So they're out of the competition, but they've done absolutely brilliantly to get there. And Dylan's turned them around, and they've got a chance of staying up. Another side that he's gone in and done his Neil Warnock impression in South Africa. So Mirumo Gallants have got a relegation decider on Saturday against Dylan's former club, Morocco Swallows. So if Gallants win, they will stay up. And they could stay up if they draw. But if they lose, they'll either be relegated automatically or they'll go into what they do in South Africa is a relegation playoff. So it's the team, the second lowest team in the South African Premier Division goes into that. So wish Dylan good luck with that. So Linvoy, coming to you now. Do we have to call you sir? Do we have to?
Well, if the day of the week ends in Y, yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, sir.
Right.
Sir Linvoy. I like it.
Yeah, normally.
Right.
You know me, just Linvoy, that'll do.
Officially Linvoy Primus MBE. So an absolute pleasure, Linvoy. So, thank you so much for sparing your time. So you joined Reading in 1997. You were there for 3 seasons, and then Portsmouth for 9 seasons. And of course, those 2 clubs are playing each other in League One next season. So my first question is, who will you be supporting?
Obviously, a team that wears blue, and then a team that's got white in there.
Good answer. Good
Yeah.
answer. Can't argue with that.
Well, I'm trying to think the last time they played in the league. It wasn't the 7-4 game, was it?
I don't think that was the last one, but that was like the memorable.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, you know what? I forgot. The leagues. Oh, hey!
There you go. We told you. It's like magic.
Look who it is. Hello.
Hey, nice
it's Dylan
one.
Kerr, everyone. Dylan Kerr, my lord, has joined us.
Sorry, I'm late.
No problem. Fine. The fine's waiting. The boys have got a fine system for you. So they're waiting.
Yeah. And Dylan, I don't know if you know this, but we're actually speaking to Linvoy Primus, who's an MBE. When are you going to get your MBE? What's the equivalent in South Africa?
I don't even know. I don't know if they have any. I wouldn't have a clue. Congratulations, Linvoy. Wow.
Thank you. A few years ago, funny enough, I don't really think about it until it's mentioned, because you just think to yourself, well, everything you do, you don't do it for a reward in such. So to actually have that awarded to me was really special, but I was unsure it was going to happen. I didn't even know anything like it could happen. So yeah, I'm more surprised than everybody else, I think.
Yeah, well Dylan, you're Dylan Kerr, my lord. That's all you need, I think. So, look, Dylan, we were just actually mentioning that you might join us. We were hoping that you join us. So pleased to see you here. And I just literally about 2 seconds before you joined was talking about Marumo Gallants. So unfortunately, you lost on Wednesday, but you did brilliantly to get to the semi-final. So well done. And you got the big relegation decider on Saturday. Do you think you're going to do it?
I actually, the way we're playing, the way we played in the 2 legs against a team that's kind of like in the English Premier League compared to us being in the, even the Southeast Premier League of, tier 6, it's that bigger difference in club size and stature and obviously money. But oh my God, if we could have had a striker, Stevie Wonder could have scored some of our goals. No, Linvoy, honestly, he killed me. It killed me. We missed 4 one-on-ones away at Yanga in front of 60,000 people, which was unbelievable. And most of my players have not played in that environment. It was intimidating. It was noisy. And we should have put the game to bed in the first 10 minutes in the second half. Yesterday, it was slightly different. There wasn't a big crowd there. We don't really get big crowds in South Africa at the moment. But in the first half, we had 3 one-on-ones, and we can't score. It's ridiculous how we missed these chances. And then they came, they sat in, they got the 2-0 lead from the first leg, and they got 2 counter-attacks and they put the game to bed. But the way we played and for my little club, what we've done in the 21 games I've played in 90 days, and we've travelled to Libya, to Egypt, to Zambia, and to Algiers. In between all these, it's been absolutely phenomenal. And the biggest of all mother games is on Saturday, that we have to win. And if we win, we stay up. but I can't thank the guys for doing what they've done since I've arrived, and I just hope the legs for the final game will be ready. I mean, we played 3 games every week for 3 months.
Oh.
And
How do you get to train? How do you get to train in that time?
We don't.
No, I was gonna say, yeah.
The worst thing is the culture here is it's driven by money, because obviously, the families, are struggling, and a player in Africa, they have to look after everybody, not just their own family, but the wives' families, and they've got kids, grandkids. They've got. I mean, it is tough for these players. So every bit of money that they can get, it helps, and they need it. They need it. Tuesday, we were supposed to do, our final training session. The players went on strike. They refused to train until the chairman came and promised them what he'd verbally offered them, which was a percentage of the final monies that they were going to get. So they refused to train on Tuesday. It completely pissed me off, excuse the French. But because I've worked in Africa, I understand why. But at the same time, being English and being brought up the way I have in football, I've never played for money. I've always played for to get as high and to get to the best I can be, whether it's winning a trophy or even getting to a final. And on Tuesday, they were adamant they weren't going to train. And if the chairman hadn't have come Wednesday morning, signed this piece of paper guaranteeing them, a percentage of the final winnings, then we would have never won. We would never even. I don't think we'd have ever played, and that's what really hurts me. But it did. The players gave it the best shot. They were absolutely outstanding. They went from first minute to the 95th minute. Like I said, got caught on 2 counters, and now we've travelled for 3 hours to come to Pretoria. We're playing Soweto on Saturday. We're not going to train tomorrow. The guys, we can't do anything. So we're going to the game with the same mentality as we did yesterday morning when the chairman came and signed this piece of paper. But again, the chairman is going to have to come to the party, as they say, and he's going to have to offer them something. And I mean, and it's got to be something that they will basically, run through brick walls for. I don't like it. I understand
it's not. That's not how it was in your time at the club, and obviously you were there. We were just talking to Linvoy before you joined us, and Linvoy joined, I think, a couple of years after you left, or maybe a year after you left, something like that. And Linvoy, I want to take you back to when you joined Reading, and Dylan's talking about all the problems he's got over there. But there was a little bit of controversy when you joined Reading, wasn't there? Because am I right in saying that somebody tried to sue you over problems with an agency fee when you joined Reading?
That's right.
Was that a stressful time for you, or did you just think, look, I'm going to leave it to everyone else to sort out agents and all that sort of thing?
I suppose, when the opportunity came to sign for Reading, my first thoughts were, I'm going to play in the higher league. I've got an opportunity to play against Charlton again because they released me as a 20-year-old. And I'd signed up with an agency, but the agency that I signed up with, they're massive now. The way they handled me wasn't great. And being, I think I was 23, 24. And, there's a bit of you that thinks, come on, guys, I'm only, this is an opportunity to go somewhere and you're not doing it the right way. So anyway, I jumped out the frying pan into the fire, worked with another agent. And that's when going with this other agent, he didn't tie up the loose ends to move me off with from the other end. So yeah, they took me to court, but we settled on the steps. And it was 500 quid that they went to take me to court for. And and at that point, I think I realised, you know what, this industry it can be cutthroat from all sides. So it was a little bit controversial, but I was hoping the agent I signed with had dealt with it, but he hadn't. And a little bit to, like Dylan says there's so many reasons those boys didn't want to train, because their purpose is, I want to play football, great, but my purpose is to make money for my family. So, so with that frustration, you can see, sometimes in football, we don't know what motivates people. So I had that in the background. It was stressful, but it wasn't over stressful because I had football to look forward to. I was moving into a new area and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about you and Keith McPherson, because for me, I think probably for Johnny as well, and many Reading fans. And don't worry, Dylan, we're not talking about fullbacks at the moment. We're talking about centre backs. But you and Keith McPherson, I would say, are regarded certainly by many Reading fans as two of the best centre backs in the club's history.
Oh wow! Wow!
So and obviously you went on to do really well with Portsmouth as well. Keith McPherson, he was a great player as well, same as yourself, Linvoy. What was that partnership like? And did you was there a chemistry there, or was it just about football, or how did that work?
Yeah, you know what? Thank you for saying that, because sometimes Dylan, again, you can probably concur to this, that your career is really good when you finish playing, because you only remember the good bits, don't you? Yeah. But whilst my time at Reading, there was a lot of things going on, so it was clouded. So my performances, I never saw my performances as being good enough, even if there were 7 or 8 or 9, 10 or whatever it was at 10, it never felt enough. So I was never satisfied. So the relationship with Macca was brilliant, because he really, I'd say, guided me in terms of the way he played, the way he spoke on the pitch, the way he spoke off the pitch. And he was a good person as a reference point, to work with. And I think the understanding probably got a little bit better after we got beat 6-0 by Tranmere. Our understanding got a little bit better after that, because we both, were open with each other and vulnerable with each other. I think that was a big thing, being vulnerable with each other, the weaknesses and the strengths and all of that. And that just helped us trust each other and build something. But I think the problem we had at Reading, we had a lot of injuries, a lot of players coming in and out, and we never had a consistent team. And when we did, those key players got injured again. Parky was one of them. And, I remember him and Hodgie in a cup game were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Or no, Man City, I think, were brilliant. We lose 3 or 4 players just before deadline day. And you're like, oh, what next? So, but Macca, great, really good. And, we probably had maybe about 18 months of playing regularly together before there was changes and stuff.
And do you remember the song I used to sing about him, about Keith McPherson?
No, go on, remind me.
I'm not a singer, so but it's one of my favourite all-time Reading songs, apart from Dylan's song, obviously. Keith McPherson, brilliant.
Okay,
not brilliant the way I sung it, but Johnny, I'm gonna let you jump in now. Go on.
Yeah, Linvoy, when I was saying you're one of the best central defenders we've had, and when you came to Reading, what was your impression of Elm Park, and that old stadium? Like, would you go there and go, "What have I done?"
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. So, obviously heard about Reading, but I've never been to the ground. And when we pulled up outside, obviously it's not the same as Upton Park, but Upton Park's in between houses, used to be, obviously. So when we pulled up, that wasn't unfamiliar. But then when we walked through the reception area, I thought, wow, it's a big club, but it's old, because, I'm coming from Barnet, and, Barnet's got nothing really. And it's old. And I remember going on the pitch and thinking, wow, the pitch is decent. The pitch is decent. And the terracing, just looking around. Remember, there wasn't many new grounds around at the time, so it wasn't anything to say, oh, this doesn't look great. But I do remember this. I can't remember if we were had to do a little bit of a fitness test. I can't remember, but I remember stretching, looking around at the advertising boards, and the first lot of boards I saw for a taxi firm, and the numbers were 6666, and I'm thinking, oh my days, is this club like something to do with the devil, or And that was my main thought. There was another one, but I can't say it on air because it won't be great. Honestly, it wouldn't be great. But the excitement, I suppose, forget the ground and everything like that. The excitement was, I'm gonna have an opportunity to play a level that I really believe I could play at. But and the dream that was sold to me about the stadium and everything like that, and I thought, cool, I could be part of something special. In a number of ways. So yeah, so it was a good feeling. It wasn't a oh, what am I going to do? It was a really good feeling when I came.
And like that first season under Terry, a bit like this season for Reading, we started off okay, didn't we? And then after Christmas, like I said, with injuries, it just kind of fell apart. And yeah, there's no other way of looking at it, is it?
No, it collapsed.
Then you had Tommy come in with the deadline day, magnificent 7, wasn't it? And then obviously to the Majewski. And then you had Pards as manager, didn't you, after Tommy left in Pards?
That's right, yes.
How was that period of transition? Because you were there for the 3 seasons of change, really. As a player, how did that feel for you, going to the new ground but in a lower league?
That's right, yeah. I suppose the only way to describe it was it was chaotic in terms of you knew, what, as a player, you never want to get relegated anyway. You want to be successful. So I knew to experience that was horrible. I remember coming off the pitch and just going straight into the dressing room bath at Forest, just in tears, because it's like, how could this happen? And then, you don't analyse too much, but I remember looking through the season thinking, oh, it's key moments, key players. Could we have done this? Could we have done that? And that's after it's all done. And so when a new manager comes in, Dylan, this, the feeling of, does he want me? That's it. You don't care about everybody else. You're like, does he want me? What's his plans? Who's that coming in with him? Who's that? This sense of insecurity was huge, really, really big. And I think when Pards came back, that was to stabilise the playing side of things, because he had that knack of being able to do that. But he also had a way of separating everything, them against us, and making the players believe in that. Yeah. So when he came, it felt like things were going to be good. But, I love Martin Allen, but I think his time with Pards, it wasn't great for what the club were trying to build. And I saw it quite early. I knew there was going to be a clash somewhere. It was either going to be with the players, it was either going to be Pards, it was either going to be upset. I knew something's going to happen. So again, there was this sense of instability that no one likes anyway. But when you want to play the game of football, but there's lots of other things affecting it. There's stuff going on in my personal life as well. So with all of that mix, it was tough, but I think you grow in so many ways. I think in that area of football, I grew a lot, because it wasn't just about the pitch; it was off the pitch as well.
Yeah. And Dylan, you obviously Linvoy came in not long after you left, and if you think about in the 90s, some of the centre backs that we had, so Keith McPherson, Darius Dovcek, and then Linvoy comes in. What was that like, that relationship with you, Dylan, and the centre backs, as a unit? Because that was great when you were part of Reading. That was one of the reasons for the success. You kind of just all seemed to know what everyone was doing, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to come back on what Linvoy said just about Keith McPherson. One of the nicest centre backs you've ever played with, and want to know. But he never used to speak to me. He never used to speak to anybody.
He had a lot of sense then.
Well done. But save, whatever, save. It was my captain. It was my captain, and he was always reliable. And I remember obviously, because I always kept in touch with Parky, Macca, and Jiltsy. One of the things that Macca has always said is that, you know, playing with those defenders, you know, Darius and Adi and Jeff Hopkins, especially, he says that, you know, he had such a good understanding with you, you know, and Parky used to say that as well, you know. So, you know, sometimes when you leave clubs and you think, well, maybe if you got the opportunity to stay, maybe the new people that are coming in, that, you know, you could have suited that kind of, you know, style of play which we had. And I'll never forget, you know, when I always speak to Macca, I'm trying to get him on the show, and he's that, you know, quiet and shy. He doesn't want to come onto the show. But now maybe that I've told him that you're going to be on, change his opinion. But yeah, there was some. I mean, everybody's talking about Darius being, you know, it was a different kind of player, being that you know, European style of a defender. But you know, we had good defenders, and we had, you know, such a good understanding and such a good partnership of how we worked and how we played together, and how we socialised together. I mean, it's often mentioned, you know, when we do these things, we players that, you know, we go to Utopia, and that,
where's that then?
What do you mean? Hey, your picture was on above the entrance. VIP member. I don't know with the hairstyle back in the 90s, but no, but you know, I think you need that. I've got 32 players at this club, and 20 of them are midfield players. You know, I've got 6 defenders, and I've got 4 strikers, and 2 goalkeepers. You know, and defenders, you know, I've lost my 2 centre halves through hamstring injuries last night. They played a striker for Young Africans. It was like Michael Jilts. He was like lightning. He's literally given my centre half at least six meters, and he's from the halfway line, and he's beaten him to the 18-yard, crossed it and scored. And my centre half's hamstring is. So I've got not. So it's important now. I've got 2 centre halves. One that's not played all season.
Right.
You know, he couldn't get in. You know, because we've been really, really good with that. So I always feel that, you know, if you've got a strong back 2 and a strong goalkeeper, as we did with Reading with Xhaka, goals. You know, it gave me the freedom to go forward. It gave Andy Bernal the license to go forward, because we knew we had 2 very strong defenders, and that must be important for your relationship as a central defender.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, even the names there, I forgot about Bernie. You know, he played outside me a couple of times. Well, probably half a season or so. And I remember when, you know, playing in the Prem. No, sorry, the season before getting to the Prem, a good friend of mine, Darren Moore, had gone up with West Brom. So he said, Lynn, he said, you play a game and a half when you've played. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you play in half your right back's game, half your midfielders game, half your centre back's game. He said, you're mentally you're worn out because the game's so quick and people are moving so quickly. And I think if you haven't got a good relationship with the players around you, like thinking that unction, yeah, he's going to go in and win it. He's going to go in and win it, so I can get round here. If you haven't got that, if you're like, oh, is he going to win it? It's all over. But if you've got that little feeling that, yeah, he's going to win this, or he's not going to win this, it just, those key things, and you can't make that happen. It comes from camaraderie. It comes from, you know, a meal out, or, you know, the Tuesday club or the Wednesday club or whatever. You know, it does come from that. It does help. It's not, you know, to do every week. You can't do it every week now. I don't think you can do it, you know, once a month or anything. It has changed a bit, but that does really help understanding relationships with your teammates as well.
Yeah, Johnny, do you want to come back in now?
Yeah, I was going to say, Linvoy, I read there how was it a difficult decision for you to leave Reading? I said that issues about contracts and stuff for
That's
you.
right. Yeah.
What happened? How made
Yeah.
you,
So in the turmoil of everything, so you must remember Massar. Do you
oh
remember
yes,
Massar?
the
Yeah.
famous Massar.
Yeah, Massage. We used to call it. My dad used to call him massage because he said because he never really performed well for us. But anyway, it's another story. Anyway, so when I signed, you know, the contract I signed when I came, it was a 3-year contract. Terms stayed the same all the way through. So when Terry left and Tommy came in, Tommy said to me, "Lynn, I really I want to keep you at the club, and we want to change the contract for you." And I said, "Oh, happy days. You know, we've moved in the area, and now that, you know, looks like I'm going to settle and be here for a while, because again, new manager comes in, might want to change things." And nothing happened. You know, nothing happened. And then Tommy went. No, sorry, just before Tommy went, Pard said to me, "Lynn, whatever you do, don't sign the contract." I said, "But I haven't even been offered one yet." He said, "Haven't you?" You know, he's let the cat out of the bag, sort of thing. So I said, "Why not?" He said, "It's not going to be favourable to you." So I said, "All right, then." I kept that in mind. Still nothing. Pards comes in, and you've got to remember, I played with Pards at Charlton.
Yeah.
As I was walking out the door at Charlton, he said to me, "Linvoy, they've made a mistake. You're going to prove them wrong, and, you know, they're going to see you playing, and you're going to be worth X amount of money." That's the last thing he said to me as I left Charlton. Yeah. We then played together at Barnet about a season and a half. I'm covering him, you know, I'm doing that extra run that, you know, that Dylan Stanley centre halves went off with a hamstring injury. I was doing a similar thing for Pards. And then Pards offered me a deal. Now, as manager, honestly, it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. And I thought to myself, how can he do this? And I was looking at on the structure of the club now. Yeah. It wasn't on what I was just looking at, and you know, Pards said made a couple of statements in the paper. One, he even claimed, I really wish I kept it, or we had what do you call it at the time, phones with camera phones, where he said, "Linvoy's my Sol Campbell." I'm like, that's it. Happy days. I'm here. I'm a lifer.
Was he drunk?
Well, exactly. Honestly, for him to go public with that, he must have been. So anyway, it never happened. And, you know, we never fell out, but I was really disappointed. And like I say, it wasn't, for me, it got to a place where, you know, unfortunately, you know, when Tommy signed all those players, he signed a lot of reserve team players, you know, who weren't ready for football week in, week out. They were used to one game, have a drink after the game. You got, you know, 6-7 days to prepare for the next reserve game. All of a sudden, no, we're in a battle, and their lifestyle didn't change, and that really didn't help. And I thought to myself, these guys, I was looking at this thinking, you know what, football's not fair. These guys are on like double what I'm on, and, you know, they're living their life like, no, I'm not having it, you know. So that's when it came to contract stuff, I thought, well, if you've got a value in me, like you say you have, then, you know, and you think I'm better than these guys here, then, you know, do something about it. And it never happens, obviously. Like I said, we never fell out, but I was disappointed. And he then phoned me in the summer. Pards phoned me in the summer and said, "What you doing?" I said, I haven't got a club. And his words were, "You're too good to not be playing. I'm going to phone Tony Pulis." Now, Pugh was at Pompey. So he said, and he said, "I'll see what he says, but I'll just let you know that you'll be good for the squad, but I'm not sure you're ready for the first team," because they were in the championship. So I don't think you'll be ready for the first team. So he said, "I'll phone him and see what happens." Anyway, the short story is, went on trial, signed the contract, and that was it, really. So yeah, so that wrangling, it again, Dylan, you must know so many stories of players who've had promised contracts not done and all that, and sometimes you're expected to get on with it, but there comes a point. Sorry, go on, Dylan.
After, I mean, a lot of people don't know that with all the, you know, there's some successes in football, and your career is as far as you can take it from the people that are in control. You know, and the disappointments in football, you know, daily having to perform at a level, having to play at a level there is disappointments that's gonna happen, but it's the ones in your control that are hard to come by. I had that similar. It's interesting, and this is why I love this show. You know, when we're speaking to former players, ex-players, we get to know the insights of it, because I didn't know that had happened, and like I had the similar experience with Quinny and Geordie, and I was when Mark left, my contract was coming to an end, and I refused to sign a contract. I went on a week to week, and when I had that horrendous injury where I'd ripped my hamstring right off the bone of my arse and couldn't walk, my career was over. And Quinny popped his head round the door in the old changing rooms at Elm Park, and just said, "Well, that screwed your move to Norwich City." And I went, "What?" He says, "Yeah, we'd agreed to let you to go and join Gary Megson at Norwich City." But I played in that game because I just love playing. And it's when people take away what you love and what you believe in, that's the disappointing thing. And I don't think lots of football fans know that. They all think, oh, football, a great lifestyle, can do this, can do that. The sacrifices you have to make, to away from your families a lot. You're pushing yourself through so much, energy and exhaustion at the same time. To be the best for that club, to be the best for that coach. And like I say, this is the beauty of this program, these shows, because we're allowed to tell it how it is, because fans don't know. Fans,
And Linvoy, on that subject, if you like, obviously, it was a bit of a difficult time. It was a difficult start for you at Reading with the agent thing, and and then relegation and all that sort of thing. And actually, you've admitted that you were suffering from depression during your playing career. So 2 questions to do with that, really. So how did you find a way through that? And also, there's so many people that are affected in that way, and a lot of them don't talk about it. So what was your experience? And secondly, anyone who's going through that type of experience, what would your advice be to them?
Yeah, so I'd say that first off, today we've got more access to the whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, we've got more access now. And I don't mean this as football, I just mean this as a general thing, because the awareness of mental health is, it's a mental health week at the moment, so I hope this goes out in the mental health week now. I said that, so but if not, put the date up for it. So so I was nowadays it's easy, talk to somebody, speak to somebody nowadays, but back then you're not, you can't show a weakness. There's ego in that as well. I can cope with this. I can deal with this. I don't need that extra support. What can they tell me that I don't know about myself, and things like that? So there was a lot of ego there, and on the outside, as Dylan said, on the outside, you have got the perfect life. People looking at you, you've got the why are you moaning? Why are you down? Why are you, what is going on? And then, the narrative that's playing in the background, it never goes away, but that you have to put a 10 out of 10 performance on Saturday. Sometimes you can escape. Sometimes you can use those, the opportunity to play to escape. But, what we were going through as a club, you couldn't really escape, because you knew that if you didn't perform well, and you didn't get a result, again, it's like we're getting relegated, and that's going to make the fans unhappy. And, your neighbours are Reading fans, and, or your neighbours an Oxford fan laughing at you and stuff like that. So, so it was all going on. And again, you put on a front, you put up a face, and we do, naturally men do anyway. Yeah. But I think in that pressure cooker of sport and specifically football, you can't tell the manager not feeling great today. No, can't tell him, you know. Nowadays you can, like I say, there's more of an acceptance, more of an understanding, more of a place, a safe spaces to speak. So so I think nowadays I'm just doing a course at the moment in regards to like with counselling with sports people. But one of the things that, you know, is highlighted, and it's so obvious that, you know, that we're all human beings and we've all got gifts in what we do, you know, but the outcome of what you do shouldn't hold so much on your life that it crushes you or cripples you or restricts you from being who you should be and play and stuff like that. And there's some really good things that I've been reading, that techniques that are in place to remind you know, the sports people that there is a bigger picture here. You know, you're going to do what you do every day, but look at the bigger picture. What's the bigger picture? What's the bigger picture in your life? So to be able to offer that advice now, I feel, you know, is something that I'd really recommend, but not just for sport. This is for everybody.
What was your bigger moment?
My bigger picture moment was, this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it to sound bad, right? When I left Reading, that was my bigger picture moment.
You're not the first.
No, it was when, so Trish, my wife, was unwell as whilst at Reading. Again, kept it all quiet. When we moved to Portsmouth, one of the things we realised that we were lonely. As a couple, we were lonely because we couldn't really make friends in and around. We lived in Didcot. So it was a real commuter place. We'd been brought up in London, even though it was a commuter place, we still had enough life to do stuff, but in Didcot, nothing. So loneliness. So we decided, right, we're going to try and make friends, you know, in Portsmouth. Took us about a year, and the friends that we made were churchgoers. And I said to my wife, you couldn't have picked anybody apart from churchgoers, you know. Oh, I'll go to church with them and stuff. No, I didn't want to go near church. And anyway, we ended up going to church with them. And for the first time, I heard a message, I guess, about life beyond football, life beyond Linvoy. And I started to ask myself, who is Linvoy? You know, and that's when I started to ask those questions about me, the answers started to come in such a way through the Bible, through conversations with friends. My friend Darren Moore, you know, Christian, used to ask him questions, and like this conversation we're having, you're finding out things that you wouldn't necessarily know at the time. When we travelled away, Darren and I would have these same conversations, and we could be open and honest with each other. And that's when it hit. You know, that's when it hit. There's a number of other things, and at that point, I'd say that's the point when I realised, you know what, faith needs to be something that that I've not heard about, that belongs to me. And I went on this journey, explored Christianity, and in the end, you know, just made a decision that, you know, Christianity is the way I think I need to live. And that was it. Didn't think nothing more of it. And then, you know, within 2 years, set up a charity. I've travelled to 2 countries to do work out there, like with orphanages and stuff. And that was the bigger picture. You know, it was like football meant something, but I tell you what, that's even better. So when I came to play football, I enjoyed it so much more because I knew my life didn't rest on the result, where it did for 8 to 10 years before.
Yeah, and Linvoy, your daughter plays for London City Lionesses, doesn't she? So your experience from your playing days and your, you know, as they call it, your journey, how has that helped you? Sort of, because it's an interesting one, isn't it? You're a dad, but also you've got that you can relate to her playing football. How has all that stuff that you know, all those experiences, how's that helped you as a father and supporting her playing football, all that stuff?
Yeah. It's been hard, you know. It's been hard to watch it. And what I mean by that is, my daughter, she's done very well. You know, she's going off to the World Cup in July to play for Jamaica, which would be lovely. She's in a group of death, though. She's with France, Brazil, and somebody else. It's like, oh, 7 days, could be back. So anyway, but
don't tell her that.
no, she knows. She knows. The whole team knows. Don't worry. When they were hoping that France would stay on strike, because they went on strike, the players, not too long ago, she was like, "Oh, please let them stay on strike." So they sacked the coach, so the players all came back. But yeah. So yeah. So like I say, it's been hard because what I've realised, you can talk about your experiences a lot, but until you go through it, you can't. I want to say you can't avoid it. You have to go through something. So she got told by, when she was 18, 19, she got told by Chelsea that they were going to let her go. Similar sort of experience to me. So what I said to my wife was, I think let's give her a week to be upset. Let her be upset. Let her be angry. Because if we say it's going to be all right, it's going to be all right every time, that don't make you feel better. But if she's got she's got to vent and vent and vent. So 7 days, in our heads, right, that's it. So we just said to her, right, look, it's bad, you're disappointed, but what you're going to do, you've got to do something now. So, so she says, right, I'm going to America. I'm like, what? So she went on the 4-year scholarship in America, best thing ever. But that I never ever stopped grieving about being released from Charlton until I was 29, when I realised I had a bigger purpose than just playing football. So that was something that we were able to say to her. She doesn't know that that was the process we were thinking, but that was the thing we could bring to her. And there's other things, obviously, like performance, getting left out of the team, contract negotiations. I'm sitting there thinking, my days, why do these clubs do this? Yeah. Just be straight. Just be straight. So all of that, but the thing, she has to experience it. I don't like it, but I was in the car with my son yesterday, and I was so wanted to tell him, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. I thought, I can't. He's got to do it, isn't he? He's got to do it. So, and that's what it's like with my daughter. I realised from a young age, when she was about 10, I'm not going to tell her how she can play football, because I got it full throttle back. So yeah, very passive in the way we deal with it. Yeah, so that's a couple of the ways to deal with it. My friend describes sport as 4 funerals and a wedding. Mm-hmm. You have more down days than up days, and those days you have a wedding, you celebrate hard, because you don't know when the next wedding's coming. That's
Tuesday night at Utopia, was it?
Oh, Tuesday? I didn't do Tuesdays. I've done Friday night. Hey! I went in with glasses, big moustache. You wouldn't know it was me.
All right, Johnny, Dylan, do you want to come back in?
I was just going to say, Linvoy, perhaps the Jamaican team, they can do a remake of Cool Runnings in the World Cup.
You know what? That would be brilliant. That would be so good. That would be. At least we'd know we'd be there longer than a week. So,
Linvoy, if they made that version of the film starring, someone representing your daughter, and you appeared as the dad, who would play you in that film?
Oh, good question. Denzel.
Oh, there you go.
I was thinking that.
Really?
What,
yeah.
Horses.
What was that?
Denzel from Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing it down.
Right.
Linvoy, it's just like when you're talking about mental health there, and back in those days, issues back then, the world's changed a lot, hasn't it? And seeing what you're doing with you did the wall in China as a walk. I do walks over in England for mental health. You wouldn't fancy joining us for one, would you?
What do you do? You do what?
We do some mental health awareness walks with Reading.
Different brands. Really?
Yeah. So if you fancy teaming up for one.
Superb. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll be
get the old legs out. How old are you now?
Don't know. You know what? My legs will probably be all right. It's probably my back that wouldn't cope in the end. So, but you know what? No, seriously, that would be a good thing to speak about afterwards, because one of the things I do, and I'm not over promising here, I do some what do you call it, mentoring with the scholars at Reading, and with, I can't remember who oversees the whole group, but I'll say it's Abs. With Abs, we've been talking about different things the players can do, though that group of players can do, that you know, heightens things. And I think personally, relationships, like with, because they're in a group already, and there's the peer groups are in that. But I think relationships with around football, but men outside football, but around football, so they can get a taste of and see real life as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely, we'll speak about it afterwards. I'm definitely up for doing that. Get me walking boots out.
One last question from me. I just have to ask this. You've had chalk and cheese as manager, Pulis and Redknapp. What was that like for you as a player?
Very good. Yeah. Pew was, you know, set in his ways. You know, it wasn't going well, wasn't going right, set in his ways. And you knew it was bad because him and Milan used to get on really well. Milan Mandrick used to get on well. And when Milan used to fly in from America, he'd go straight to the ground, like if we were away, he'd go straight to the ground, and Tony used to drive him back. So I think we played Stockport away, and it's awful, honestly, awful, bad performance. And Tony got in the car, just drove off and left Milan at the crowd. Milan's like, "Hey, Tony, where are you?" It's like, "No, I'm not coming." He didn't even answer. Harry, like, nearly the opposite. Nearly that. Not really relaxed. You know, not really relaxed, but very much what you saw with his eye was what you're going to get. You know, and tactically, you know, there was a few games against the bigger teams where tactically he got it right. But most games he'd say, go on, lads, out and play. Give him the ball. Just give him the ball. We had a lad on loan. I'm not going to tell you the wages, right? He had a lad on loan from, I can't say because, anyway, to justify his wages, right? So we were Portsmouth for paying the wages. To justify the wages, Harry had to play him, obviously. But I'm not joking. I've never heard a team talk where we have to pass the ball to this player so much. Whatever you do, pass it to him. Whatever you do, because if he looks busy on the ball, he's worth the money, isn't he? And he was saying, give him the ball. Anyway, this lad got injured in a warm-up like a few games later because he couldn't handle it. And we got in a little huddle. We'd never done a huddle before. It was like, right, keep him out of the team. Let's win today. And we went and won, and he never played again. Yeah, so Harry was the one. And, you know, he never called him a wheeler and dealer, but he did bring a few players in. He did. Some you turn up and you go, what's he doing here? Didn't he just win the Champions League? You know, it's so funny. So many coming in.
Dylan, have you got a last question for Linvoy?
No, listen, you know, I apologise, Linvoy, that I was late. You know,
it's fine.
We just arrived, and by the time I got into, you know, I basically live out of a hotel room at the moment because we've played that many games. And to see you, it's great to, you know,
you too.
That smile's worth $1 million anyway. So,
yeah, thank you.
You know, and like I said, we've all got good memories at Elm Park, you know, and obviously you have at Madejski. We have ups and downs. It's as they say in Scotland, it's all swings and roundabouts, you know, in football. You know, it's great to see you looking well.
Thank you.
I'm glad you've still got your own hair, although maybe...
Well, I'll take it off once we've finished. It's a Lego head.
Yeah. No, but you're looking brilliant. I mean, you're looking brilliant. I mean, that smile. If I could give that smile to my players on Saturday, we'd survive relegation. But you know, it's been brilliant to see you. You know, it's been a long time. And
very long time.
I'm honoured. I'm just happy to be with Johnny and Mark doing this because you catch up with so many memories, catch up with so many stories. That's what it's all about. And
yeah.
When Mark keeps saying, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do that?" We have in South Africa something called load shedding, which they cut the power off for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's what you were saying earlier. Yeah.
So you know, it's always good when I can speak to him. We're supposed to be doing one at 6 o'clock. I've got no chance. Load shedding. So go to a bar or a restaurant, but it's too noisy.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
No, brilliant to see you, and I'm glad
You
everything.
too.
I'm glad everything's going well for you. And
Thank you.
where are you now?
Still down in Portsmouth, still there. So yeah, well, I'm seeing Jilksy next week, hopefully.
Oh, make sure he gets to the bar. He's one of these things. He's allergic to going near bars.
Oh, is he? Has he got that invisible shield up? Can't get through. It's bouncing off it.
I'm hopefully going to come home next week. I'm going to spend some time in Reading, but Vinny Allaire keeps asking me to come down.
Oh, does he? Yeah, Vinny. Oh, well, that's for another episode, I think.
And before we finish, I've got to. When I joined Leeds, when I left South Africa, Vinny was coming to the end of his contract, and Howard didn't fancy him. He didn't, and we had a team photo, and Vinny was left out the team photo, and we're all sat there, we're all doing his hair, we're all looking good, we've all got the white on, and everybody's sitting. Next thing, Vinny's gone into the office, and he's bought some white overalls with a paint can and a paintbrush with the paint out this way.
Yeah.
I say, am I in your way, guys?
He's a good guy, isn't he? He's a great guy.
Everybody just cracked up, and we couldn't take the photos for about 5-10 minutes because everybody is one of them moments where he's just walking around the ground while we're all getting lined up. You sit there, he's walking. And, where do you want the paint? Where do you want the gaffer? Where do you want the painting? It was
good guy, brilliant. Well, all the best at the weekend.
Thank you,
lads.
Good luck, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Dylan. Always a pleasure, and thank you to Linvoy. Really appreciate you being a guest. Really enjoy speaking to you.
No problem at all. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
And just a reminder, the guest coming up tomorrow, we've got former Reading midfielder and model John Halls. Tuesday, thanks to Johnny's hard work and activity as a stalker, we've got former Reading winger Glenn Little. And eventually, when it happens, we're going to be bringing you a bonus episode when Reading announce their new manager. We don't think it's going to be Dylan. Could be, who knows. But
well, don't know. He's back next week.
We'll see.
Hint.
He's coming back next week. Maybe he's not telling us why.
Yeah, he said he's in Reading. Come on now.
Yeah.
my odds are 1,500 to 1. I'll let you know.
Let's get a bet on it.
Dylan Kerr's been spotted at the Oracle. So anyway, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Dylan, and thank you to our special guest, Linvoy.